Hello and welcome to Nigeria, the Road to 2019, a series of programs where Arise News places the audience and the choice at the heart of our coverage of the upcoming presidential elections. I'm Charles Aniagulu. Coming up in the next half an hour, all the news, comment and analysis that provide unrivaled insight into Nigeria 2019, including, over the next hour, telling insight into where Nigeria has been and where it is headed in 2019 from arguably one of the most important politicians this country has ever produced. Plus, the other perspective away from the two dominant parties. We continue our chat about whether the third force parties can help foster a shift in Nigerian politics. We begin, though, with a 91-year-old man and arguably one of the most important politicians this country has ever produced. Chief Ayo Adebanjo is a lawyer, part of the respected Awolowo alliance, and a chieftain of the pan-Yoruba socio-political group Afenifere. And in one of the great moments of Nigerian politics, he's said to have helped pave the way for the emergence of Bola Tinubu as governor of Lagos State in 1999. So in many ways, Chief Adebanjo embodies the history and spirit of Nigerian politics. He's also a staunch advocate of restructuring. Well, earlier I was joined in the studio by Chief Ayo Adebanjo. I was keen to get his assessment of the ruling APC party and President Buhari as the campaign season kicks off and Nigeria heads towards crucial elections in 2019. I began by asking him whether he thinks Nigeria is a better country today than it was in 2015.
I think you have asked me that question just to repeat what people know, to hear it from my mouth. Who will say this country is better than 2015?
Well, we just had the spokesman. We had earlier, I think it was the day before, so we had the spokesman of the PDP, of the APC,
what
making
do you
that
expect them
point.
to say?
Sorry?
In Yoruba, what do you expect the APC to say? They wouldn't admit that they have failed. It is you people who watch them, those who experience their administration, that we know that they have failed, and that is a common thing. The Yoruba have been saying that every woman who does this amala says my own is the best. So I don't expect anything less from them. But it is we who are the subject of the administration. We tell them how we are feeling. We know how much our naira was worth in 2015. We know how much we are buying our petrol in 2015. We know how the roads were. We know what the hospitals were. We know what the universities were. And we know what difference, what change have we experienced, except that it's a change from PDP to APC. It's a matter of you yourself, how much did you have in the bank then? How much is it worth now? You don't need rock science to do that. Except, of course, as a politician, as a political party, they've been doing lots of propaganda. But the age and the stage of Nigerian situation today is beyond politics. It's the reality of the situation we are talking about. And anybody who's honest and not just be pretending, we really know what is the truth.
They will argue that when they came into office in 2015, they found the Nigerian treasury depleted. They found that the country was already on the road to a recession because it was still a monoculture in terms of how it was earning its foreign exchange, that Nigeria was still dependent on oil, and as soon as oil prices started to plummet, it had a knock-on effect on the Nigerian economy. And therefore the country went into recession, and they've spent almost the first 2 years trying to bring the country out of recession, and now the country is back on the path to growth, albeit very small growth, and it's starting to move in that direction again.
In all honesty, All this rigmarole of the PPC doesn't impress anybody who know. It is because of this, it is this allegation you make against the PDP that make people feel, oh, let's have a change, according to you. All that you are relating, they are all things for your campaign. The question is, how far have you gone? You don't have to repeat that one again. It is because these people are not doing well, according to you, you say you'll be better. But when we are now saying, having been there, we, the subject, are not the better for it. No, this is not the room for excuses. It's the stage for performance. Oh, these people are no good. You see, when you are there, your naira was this. They promised our naira will be equal to, I don't remember that. You remember? Is that the position? So that is the situation. It's not the story of this is where we are. It is the story of what you promised and how far have you succeeded.
Did you support President Buhari, or at the time Muhammadu Buhari, in 2015?
Nobody in the country asked me that question. They know my position. I was one of the great opponents of Buhari, warning the people that I use a language then that it's the greatest mistake Nigeria will make to vote for him. And I gave my reasons. It is no prejudice to his person. All I said then is what I knew about him. And the question I often put to people like you who ask me questions is, no, what do you think of Buhari? I say, I have nothing to add or to subtract. Go and read my interview about him pre-2015.
Well, what was it about him that, because I mean, clearly a majority of Nigerians felt that he was the person that they trusted enough to give the mantle of leadership in 2015. What was it about him that made you reticent to give him your support?
Because I know him. You see, at that time, he was selling a fake integrity. And I mean the word fake. Why? People will not know that Afenifere and myself campaigned for Buhari in 2007. Go and check up. On what ground? He promised was going to do restructuring. That it was no change of policy about what we didn't hate him for what he is, but we loved him and supported him for what he was promising.
That was in 2007. Right.
Again, in 2011, he put restructuring there when Pastor Bakari was running his running mate. Nothing doing. Again, he promised Tinubu, who sheepishly followed him, and I say use the word sheepishly because he knew him, and I said enough about him for him not to fall into a trap. That this man, you cannot depend on what he says. He does not believe in restructuring because that was what Tinubu sold to the people of the Southwest. And because that was the ground on which he was elected under my chairmanship. And I told him, no, this man wouldn't do it. He does not keep to his word on that ground. And since they came in, my grasp about Tinubu and all that, the more that, they have got the courage now to say, no, this is not what we agreed upon before we come into your coalition. And I did say at that time that APC is a conglomeration of incompatibles.
But Mr. Tinubu is still supporting him.
That's I'm not Tinubu. I'm telling you
sure.
What situation. The analysis I'm doing now is to ask, for you to judge whether Tinubu has been wise or reasonable or stupid in still following him. That's all. I'm saying this was the position. I need to say the restructuring was all right. Because the restructuring was the basis of campaigning for Tinubu to become a governor. Not by words, go into history. After Alliance for Democracy came into office, to ensure, because at that time it was not restructuring, it was a question of sovereign national conference. What does it mean? It's not a sovereign national conference, is not a philosophy. Just as restructuring is not a philosophy, all we are saying is we must go back to federalism. And if you don't want to go back to federalism by force, we have to sit down and agree on the basis of coming together. That was why we are hammering at that time for sovereign national conference to agree on a federal system, which was the constitution. This is important. And I would like these APC people, or those who are there from the north, to refute that. That is the constitution our founding fathers gave us after the crisis of 1953, when chieftain now removed the motion for self-government. And the colonialists, there was a breakdown of the parliament at that time, and the colonialists sent us as all the representatives of the parties to come to London. What's the problem? Before then, remember, Chief Awolowo has been warning that we are a country which cannot be ruled under a unitary form of government, which was the Macpherson Constitution.
Absolutely, the Macpherson Constitution.
By 1952. So when they called them in 1953, he said them, I have told you so. You cannot rule this country like under a Macpherson Constitution, under a unitary form of government. I said, what do we do? That was where they agreed on federal system. It was after that conference, people should go back to history, that the position of a premier was inserted in that constitution, that made each region at that time autonomous.
Absolutely. This is why I have to say, Chief Adebanjo, why it is, I mean, absolutely brilliant to talk to somebody like yourself, because you are a repository of the history of this country. You were there when those decisions were made. Nobody can ever take that away from you. And I would encourage most people to listen very closely to what you have to say. And of course, I'm not taking sides, whichever political side of the political divide you want to be on. But I think certainly the historical parts of what you're saying are very important for people who want to understand this country. And you are, of course, a well-documented advocate of restructuring. You've been quite critical of President Buhari and the APC in terms of them, according to you, not delivering on the promises they made about restructuring. Have you detected a clearly defined position on restructuring from the other main party, the PDP? Is restructuring clearly defined enough for you in their just released manifesto?
Yeah. Restructuring is not a philosophy. I have told you earlier. It's a process to get to federalism.
Well, do you see a commitment on their part?
Of course. If there's no commitment, I wouldn't be there. I will not be there. And I'm one of those who was very critical of their party. And mind you, let me say this. Our own support for Atiku is not because it's PDP or because Atiku. Atiku's policy of restructuring is not a campaign sloganeering. I will let people get back to history. Atiku has been advocating federalism even before the 2014 National Conference. Go and read his papers, go and read his saying and everything. And for that, many of his colleagues in the North, they didn't like him for it. And I may say in person that each time I refer to this federal system, I said that is the constitution our founding fathers handed over to us. Awolowo, Sardauna, Ezekwe. And it was on until independence. It was on until 1963. It was on until 1966 when there was a coup. It was the military that brought all these problems. And I may add, for those the APC and General Buhari want to confuse, because I felt insulted when the president said, go and ask those who are talking of restructuring, what do they mean? And I felt sorry, but maybe if there is proper education on the side of the man talking, you shouldn't be asking me what do I mean by structuring. We say go back to federalism. And in explaining to them, not now, all the time, I say, well, if you don't understand it, go back to the Independence Constitution. If you don't understand it, go back to what our founding fathers gave us. And I read one of the statements where he said, do you want us to go back to regionalism? That shows the extent of how informed or educated he is. When we say we go back to that, we don't necessarily have to go back to 4 regions or 3 regions. The principle exactly there, where each region or territory was autonomous to the extent that they had a foreign embassy in London. The Western region had one. That is Western Nigeria office. That was where I got married. We were the first to send agent general there. We were autonomous, and then we sent Chief Emir Okorodudu. He was the first agent general, and then the other region then, who didn't really know what the essence of federalism is, ridiculed Chief Awolowo, but they followed later.
How important should restructuring be as a campaign issue going into the 2019 election?
I have said it before, and I don't mean it as a campaign thing. I even accuse the president that if he's serious about this country being together, he should restructure the country. Without his restructuring, this country will not stay together.
But clearly he hasn't done it. Therefore, he hasn't done it so far. He hasn't restructured the country.
There is no way, there is no evidence from them that they are going to do it at all.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So should that be an issue going into this campaign?
Of course, to show that they are not honest with their campaign. I have been expecting them to refute what I said, that you promised in 2007. We supported you because you say restructuring. You should have answered, no, I never told you that. It was in your manifesto in 2011 when Pastor Bakari was your running mate, and it was, you said that he included in your manifesto. He has not refuted that. You see, I want us to make this campaign a campaign of issues. Not the question I did it before, the country was corrupt. Those, we are past that stage now. And that was what I warned people in 2015, that I would not like you to vote for this man because it's going to be 4 years wasted. And I said then, I wish he would disappoint me by doing what I said he will not do. And later on, in the course of the year, I've also granted an interview that I'm disappointed that he has not disappointed me. Because I was saying, the way I was so blunt on saying this man will not do it, and the way the Buharis at that time were telling, no, he will do it. All the question of being a dictator and all that was because he was during his military era. I said, this man has not changed. He has no basis for democratic thought. By birth is a feudalist, I said that. By training as a military, is a dictator. And that is why he finds he's at home by not obeying the rule of law. And he was bold enough to even go and tell an assemblage of lawyers and judges that the rule of law is subject to public interest. Where in a democracy do you hear that? And that was one of the things I have against the vice president. He's a lawyer, a professor, so sitting down in a place where his principals say the rule of law is subject to public interest. To me, and from the training the VP has, it's an issue for him to have resigned from the cabinet. How can you have a lawyer in the cabinet where the rule of law is subjected to anything? Without the rule of law, nobody is safe in this country. Well, and he should know that more than any other person.
Let me ask you this.
And I want to add this. And by the time he was chosen as the running mate to Buhari, the comfort some people were having is that, oh, maybe whatever mistake this man will make, we have an able person to do. He has failed. He has disappointed us. By training, by where he comes from, this time, and people tell this man is representing the West. He's now the mouthpiece of whatever is against the rule of law, whatever is against democracy, whatever is against good government. He's the man they push forward to go and defend.
Right. Let me ask you this then, Chief Adebanjo. I mean, you support the PDP, the opposition PDP. Is it a different party from what it was in 2015? And if so, what's been responsible for doing the trick for this new popularity that they claim to be enjoying?
I am not one of those carried away by propaganda. I made it clear. The support for Buhari of Atiku restructuring. Just as I did at the time of Jonathan. When people thought that I'd been bribed, I'd been given money, I said, I was not advocating that Jonathan, there's no evidence of corruption in his administration. But my comforting aspect of it that he will restructure the country. And I know the moment you understand restructuring and you restructure the country, devolution of powers, the state police, local government, all the power that he has as the most powerful president in the whole world had been reduced. The excess money they are taking state money to the center is no longer there. That is the source of corruption. I knew that the moment you do that, you go to the root of corruption, not by word of mouth. And no man, whether Buhari or anybody, who goes into power under this constitution, no hope for him. He has no hope for the country because the power under the constitution is tempting enough. After all, we have had previous people who under him who could have done, who didn't do it. I don't want to mention that, but that's the matter of the past. I'm only telling you where the difference lies. And I am not a PDP man. To me, those of us supporting Atiku, we are supporting a coalition candidate for restructuring. Somebody who will know, who by his activity will restructure the country. By the time the restructuring is done, is the panacea for peace, stability, and the unity of the country. Period.
I just want to get your perspective because, as I said, you're such a great political historian. Many Nigerians believe that the real issue for the politicians in this country is who gets to rule Nigeria, who gets to rule the country, who gets to be president, not unemployment or the economy or security. In other words, the entire focus of the Nigerian politician is getting rid of the incumbent or claiming the scalp of the challenger so one or the other party can possess the Aso Rock presidential villa. So it's all about who gets to be thrown out.
Whoever says that is very unfair to people of like myself who are followers of Awolowo. We have only been a party that have been issuing manifesto millions of ways to be in the government. We have never asked for the mandate of these people on a blanket show. Go and ask for it. And that is why we have been in opposition ever since. Even when the NPC invites us to come into coalition, one of the things that caused crisis action group is their refusal not to join a conservative party that has no program for progress. Go into history. That was the beginning of the crisis of Akintola and Awolowo. I happen to know this. Because Akintola was pro having an alliance with the NPC. She found us on what ground? What is the part of their manifesto that relates to us? So that is why I just dismiss a wave of hand when everybody categorizes us with the politician. We have never been. And that is why we have never been in government.
Well, that is probably why you haven't been in government.
That's what I said. I said so.
So that does not necessarily take away from that suggestion that
No,
the
no, it is
politician who's been
because-
given power
no,
or who
Mr.
has taken
No,
power
don't let us confuse the audience. Because the people have not so been enlightened at that time to that degree. That's why they couldn't follow. Take for instance, all the elections, look at the states you have today. Cross River, Rivers and everything. Now, say that we are a federation, but we are a unity form. It was the action group that fought for that. It was the London Constitutional Conference that created the Willing Commission of Inquiry on the minorities that brought them into existence. I still refer to those of them from the minority right today that they have just been ungrateful to Awolowo. The opportunity to vote for Awolowo as a champion of creation of more states to establish federalism, they missed it in 1979 by voting again for the APC. That's why we are here today, because they felt that Awolowo couldn't win. They didn't follow what principle, what ideology we are fighting for. Everybody's talking of resource control today. It was Chief Awolowo started the derivation. It is part of the thing agreed to in 1954. So all these things that when I refer to federalism, Constitution of 1963, I am going back to the root that solved our problem until the military came in and gave us this trouble.
Chief Adebanjo, we're almost out of time. It's been absolutely brilliant talking with you. What is your advice to the Nigerian electorate and the voting public as we head towards the 2019 election? It's almost upon this country, 3 months away from now.
Simple. Any lover of Nigeria like me, who believe in the unity of this country, in peace, not by force, we support the article for restructure the country back to federalism. You will see that up till now, the APC have not been talking about it. They will do this, it's corruption, and they are not talking about how to keep the country together. And I say, if you don't restructure, there will be no stability. Because under restructuring, you solve the problem of the people of this, what is it now, the question of separation, the iPod.
The separatists.
Separatists. Solve the question of iPod. Because all those things have been silent now because we are telling them, no, by the time we get restructuring, we do that. And when there is no peace, there can be no progress. All those who are telling you now, we want to do this, it is when there is a country first. That is what I want to emphasize to the electorate. I'm not after anybody telling you we build you more roads. I am after keeping the country together first.
On that note. Someone you might describe as a political institution, Chief Ayo Adebanjo talking to me earlier. You're watching Nigeria, the road to 2019. Plenty more still ahead, including, in furtherance of our attempts to give equal space to the parties, we asked whether the third force parties can help foster a shift in Nigerian politics and help disrupt the dreary normalcy of the two dominant parties. Stay with us.